Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans. So here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening, and welcome to Primetime Sports. I'm your host, Scott Alexander. Hey, and everyone here at WLAE at CST, well, we want to wish you a very happy holiday season, whether it could be Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you choose to celebrate. We hope the season is very special for you. But now on to sports. Hey, your New Orleans Saints, they're the talk of the town right now. They just inched closer with the victory over the Jets to a possible division championship. I know at 10-4, it seems like they should be in, but they're not there yet. And if they do happen to get it, it's going to be the fourth in the Sean Payton era, but the first time since 2011, 6 years ago. But first, they must get by the hated Atlanta Falcons. That's coming up this Sunday afternoon on Christmas Eve. That's right, Matt Ryan and the Dirty Birds will invade the Dome Sunday at noon. So please make sure you're there and you're loud and proud, because as it stands at the moment, the Saints and Panthers, they're both tied for first at 10-4, but the Saints, the Who-Dats, hold that oh-so-important tiebreaker over Carolina. But here's the thing. The Falcons, they're lurking right behind the two division leaders. They're 9-5. They're right there. And because they closed the regular season against the Saints in Carolina, well, they control their own destiny. And that's where it gets difficult, because the Falcons win those two, they're in. In fact, the NFC is so crazy this year that the 10-4 Saints could either finish second if everything falls right, or they could be out of the conference playoffs altogether. That would be tough. So that's why this game Sunday is so important. Be there and be strong. Hey, by the way, the Pelicans, well, on the other hand, you know what they're doing. They're in that win one, lose one phase at the moment. They stand at 15-15. They're tied for seventh in the playoff race right now. A long way to go. Hey, Tulane and LSU hoops, they're both playing much better than expected, so I give them props. And by the way, speaking of Tulane hoops, we have Mike Dunleavy, the former NBA player and coach of the Wave, is going to be on. Tulane is in good hands with him. And how about LSU legend Ruffin Rodrigue? He played in the 80s on some great teams. And look here, I got a New Orleans icon. That's right, his name, Ronnie Lamarque, baby. Where you at, Ronnie? He's going to sing a song for us, but we're going to talk about his iconic career in the Crescent City. Hey, stay tuned. It's Primetime Sports. It's holiday season coming up next. So nice to hear Big Sam from Big Sam's Funky Nation doing This Christmas. That was gorgeous. And by the way, we're going to have more Christmas music for you later. I've got Ronnie Lamarque coming in. He's going to sing a great Christmas song as well. And we're going to talk to a New Orleans icon, also one of the great LSU players from that 80s era, Ruffin Rodrigue, who's also the owner of Ruffino's Restaurant. He was a great offensive lineman with the Tigers. But right now, I got to tell you, it's fresh on my mind because I went to the Tulane Greenway basketball game last night, and it was a thriller. They went down early, down 17 at the half. It was 20 at one point, but they came storming back, and what a comeback it was. I was happy to be in that number. It wasn't a huge crowd, but it was a boisterous one, and they got behind the Green Wave. But my next guest is its head coach, Mike Dunleavy. You know him well. He's been here twice, 33 years as a player and head coach in the NBA, long-time career. And by the way, Magic Johnson, you remember him? Well, his first head coaching job, his first year, he brought Magic and the Lakers to the finals that year, and they ended up falling to, well, a guy named Michael Jordan in his first championship ever. But here he is again, the head coach for the Tulane Green Wave, Mike Dunleavy. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Mike Dunleavy Sr., I guess we're going with these days, because your son's made his name.
Yeah, well, it's the way it works.
By the way, quick note, how's son doing?
He's doing well. He was a free agent this year.
Right.
It was waiting only for, call from possibly a really good team. He's still staying in shape. I'm going to wait and see how it plays out.
Great long career. You have to be proud of that.
Yeah, I mean, 15 years in the NBA. I mean, that's a
huge career.
That's a big-time career.
I remember when he came out and went to Duke, one of the top-ranked players that year. Let's talk about this Tulane team, because I know you have to be proud. 6 wins last season. You basically had a rebuild situation. And already in year 2, you've surpassed the total. We're not even at Christmas yet, and you're 8-3. Night and day? I mean, talk about it.
Well, it's kind of a culmination of last year. I felt like the last 10 games of the season, we had improved a great deal from the beginning. I mean, you come in and you're putting a system in. It's 15 guys you're teaching, and now this year, basically I have 4 new guys in, and I've got 10 guys that are teachers as well.
Right.
So it's just we're so much further ahead of last year right now because of all the guys and what they already knew and what they could. Knowledge they can impart on the new teammates.
I just remember from watching games, I love going to Tulane's gym. I think it's kind of a Cameron of the South in size. We just got to get it that boisterous. But the fact is, I like watching games there. Last year, I noticed, though, if a guy named Cam Reynolds wasn't hot, it was going to be tough for Tulane to win. Like you said, you guys, the second half of the year, particularly the last 10 games, Tulane was playing great basketball. This year, Cam seems to get some help. I mean, Cam Reynolds obviously still averaging about 17 a game. But Melvin Frazier might even get that Most Improved award that Cam got last year in the American Athletic Conference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful of that. I think that Mel's put a lot of work in. His game has gotten so much better. And we have a much better supporting cast than last year. We're a deeper team. 2 players that transferred in, Jordan Cornish and Samir Sahik.
Yeah.
Both guys have been contributing very nicely for us as well.
So is that how you pronounce it? Because I was told a while ago it was Shayich. Is it Sahik? We'll just go with either one.
Well, I'll have to go back home and ask them to make sure.
But I did tell you, anybody that has their name in and C, they usually can shoot. And last night it was interesting because as you made the comeback, you didn't put the bench in. You just kept them because these guys had some momentum and were rolling.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a difficult decision in a sense. Because as you're playing a game out and down 20 with 17 minutes left to go in a ball game, these guys get on a run. And what we had some mismatch opportunities that we were doing a good job taking advantage of. And we forced them to call a couple of timeouts, which gave us rest along with the TV timeouts.
Yeah.
And I had 3 timeouts towards the end of the game, and I just used them just to rest our team, even though we had some momentum. So that was kind of the reasoning for it. Just liked the way the guys were playing, and I didn't want to break that momentum.
Well, Tulane is such a national, international school that you can draw from, and I'm not saying it can ever be Duke, but what's a goal for you for this school? You have 3 local players from New Orleans that are contributing a lot, and you probably have even a few more. But this is a school that can get players from all over the country because of their education and the proximity. Obviously, we're in New Orleans; it's kind of an international city. Talk about that situation.
Well, people ask, where do you guys recruit? And we recruit all over the world. I mean, I've recruited 5 players here so far. 4 of them are foreign.
Yeah.
The local guy that we recruited was Caleb Daniels from St. Augustine.
Yep.
And, he's going to be a great player for us in the future. But we are looking everywhere.
Right.
In the city, in the state, and around the country, and around the world.
Speaking of the city, one of the guys from East Jefferson came up big last night. There's Jordan Cornish right there from Brother Martin. But let me start with Blake Paul, because Blake has kind of been up and down in his career. He was at East Jefferson. They did some great things there. But I thought last night in particular, he came up big on the defensive end. He had some huge blocks, and it seemed like he got every rebound that was around.
Well, his energy, the way he controlled the paint last night for us was the reason we won the game.
Right.
I mean, basically, defensively, we turned it up a couple of notches. We started forcing them into turnovers. We were getting into the open court. But at times in transition or times when we got beat off the dribble, he was there to change shots, block shots, and come up with big boards.
And just because I didn't clarify this early, Tulane, they were down 45-28 at the half. It got to 50-30, and then they went on a run. They scored 48 second-half points and won 76-69. That had to be a thrill for the team running off the court.
Well, no question. I mean, look, we had a goal coming into this season. In our non-conference games, we have 12 of them. We were, I felt like we'd go 9-3.
Right.
We're 8-3 right now, and we have a chance to get the 9th win this Thursday at 1 p.m. home game.
1 p.m. By the way, I'll be there again. I love these afternoon games. It's perfect. You get it, and you still got your night to do stuff. So 1 o'clock, if you can make it over there to play South Alabama, who's a tough opponent, that's going to be right there at Devlin Fieldhouse at Fogelman Arena. I want to kind of get back to those New Orleans guys a little bit too, because one of them you mentioned is transfer, Jordan Cornish from Brother Martin. Another went to Higgins, and obviously that's Melvin Frazier. But talk about what Cornish in particular has brought to this team.
So Jordan, he's got a good high IQ for the game, and he's brought us some ball handling skills. Although last night I was giving him a hard time. He almost had a double-double, 18 points. He had 9 turnovers.
Turnovers, right? Yeah.
But most of the time, he's been able to add a total package of a game. I mean, we posted him up against matchups last night that he came through for us on. We put him in pick and rolls. He made, I think, 5 threes in the game last night, 5 of 8 from the three-point line. So again, he's got the total package in terms of what he's capable of doing. And so we put him in those positions. We put all our guys in those positions depending on who the matchups are and kind of how the other team defends certain situations.
And at least 3 of those threes were in a huge comeback fashion. It's nice when you get a 3. 2s are great. 3s are better. And one of those looked like it was on by your bench, and he was like falling back. It looked like he was near the locker room. That's how far back it was. He was huge for the momentum last night.
Yeah, no question. Like I said, he's a big kid. He's 6'5",
strong,
215, 220, and he had a matchup where a guy who was 6'1" to 6'2" was guarding him, and so we took advantage of that matchup in the low post, and which let him score in the low post, but also made them come double team, and he was able to create some shots by kicking the ball out to open shooters.
Yeah, just another pronunciation issue. Is it Ray Ono Imba? I said close enough. All right, but he's solid, much better than I actually expected. I've seen him a bunch before, but I thought last night he was a steadying influence in this game. He was getting under the skin of the guy he was guarding. It caused him to have a couple turnovers. I thought he was huge in the comeback.
Well, Ray, we recruited Ray. He came in as a freshman last year and started for us.
Yeah.
And the reason why was because of his defense. At 6'3.5", 6'4", he defends really well against size and quickness. And again, I thought last night he came up with 4 steals in that game, and particularly in that second half, it helped impact the easy opportunity baskets we got in transition.
One of the things I love is that you schedule tough. I mean, you got these tough. You go to North Carolina. I mean, they're the national champions. They came here last year. Remember, that was a tough ball game. That was a good one. You also schedule Florida State. Talk about the reasons you do that.
Yeah, so it comes down to RPI is kind of the scheduling component that gets you into the NCAAs. So like the NCAA says, well, yeah, anybody could schedule wins to get you 25 wins if you play terrible teams.
Sure.
So everybody's got a rank and a value.
Yeah.
So clearly, you have to balance certain teams. So when you schedule teams at the high end, obviously they give, you get that high ranking in your equation, but it also gives you an idea of where you have to get to and how hard you have to play, and it prepares you for conference. I mean, I'm hopeful that North Carolina and Florida State will be as good as anybody will see in our conference this year.
Question.
So we will have played against teams that we understand kind of what it takes. And again, in a game like last night, just shows from our standpoint. Okay, we've had a number of games this year. We've been down 10 points or more.
You have,
and so and the message is okay. Let's come in and let's steady the ship here. It starts at the defensive end. We got to get stops. We got to rebound, and then we want to push. The fact is, as you said, we scored 46 points in 46 or 48 in the second half. 48 points in the second half last night. That tells you the pace of the game that we were willing to play at.
It was high energy, and I'm going to tell you this, fans. It's exciting. Get out and watch this team. This is not what you've seen the last couple of years. This is a whole new ball game, and it's fun to watch. And I know I had you on before the season started last year and after the season. And I appreciate you're a realist. I mean, you're not going to say, hey, it's my first year here. We're going to win the American Athletic Conference. You said it's going to be a struggle. We're going to play hard. We're going to try to implement this system. Now in year 2, what are you trying to do? I don't necessarily say your goals, but what are you looking at?
Yeah, no, well, honestly, coming into this season right now, we won 6 games last year. My thoughts were, okay, we got to take a jump. We got to win at least half our games, which would be 15. Now we're in a position where maybe we can do better than that. But It comes down to that, we're going to play. We play in a tough conference. We're getting ready to see conference play. And, we're playing better. We're playing at as good a level as I could hope at this juncture for us. And now we got to see, can we, come, after Christmas, we start up at Temple on the road, start our conference season, and now we got to put our big boy pants on and get ready to play because, some of the teams in our conference are, terrific. I mean, probably the favorite to win the conference is Wichita State. They're ranked,
top five. Yeah, they're awesome.
You're going to have the guys, the other teams.
UConn's always great.
Cincinnati will be, an NCAA team. And we think this year that there's going to be probably 5 NCAA bids coming out of our conference. I mean, you have SMU's made it the last couple of years and has a really good team. You have, like you said, you have UConn. You have Houston last year, Central Florida.
Yeah.
Both of those teams actually probably should have made it in last year. They were just right on that bubble.
One last thing. So we talked about in the show last year, in case those didn't see, what was it like to be a first-year coaching Magic Johnson and taking them to the finals?
Yeah, well, it was really awesome. Because first of all, as all the coaches out there will tell you, when your best player is your hardest worker, it's easy to get everything else done. Yeah. I mean, I know that as a first-year coach, sometimes I might have had some insecurities and want to make sure I got a win, and therefore played Magic too many minutes maybe.
Right.
And I would say to him the next day in practice, hey, Irvin, let's take some time off here. Take the day off. And he said, Coach, if I don't practice, if I don't play hard, then the other guys will think they don't have to do that.
Right.
It's not happening.
No.
I mean, which was amazing, which was great.
What a great player to be able to coach. You probably learned a few things right there.
Well, he's like I said, he had a great IQ for the game. And this is back before you had DirecTV. Everybody had the big satellite dishes.
Yeah.
And then you had to flip channels to
Sure.
try and get the games on satellite.
The good old days.
Yes.
Hey, this is right on your campus. It's called Shays de la Shays. It's on Maple Street. I know you know that by now.
Oh, yeah, for
right
sure.
off Broadway, between Carrollton and Broadway. It's a wonderful place. I hope you enjoy it. You've already signed the basketball. Mike Dunleavy, year 2. Great things are happening at Tulane. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Hey, by the way, get out and see this team. You're going to be excited about it. I love basketball this time of year. Now that football's winding down, I'm catching high school games, college games, and, of course, Pelicans games. But this is the best deal right in your own backyard, New Orleans. Check it out. Hey, coming up next, we're going to go to a different sport. We're going to switch over to a guy that, well, he played college when I was at LSU. His name is Ruffin Rodrigue. He's been to the Sugar Bowl. He's been an all-SEC player. He was great for the LSU Tigers, and now he's the owner of a fancy restaurant in Baton Rouge called Ruffino's. We'll be right back right here on Primetime Sports.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez de la Chez, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez de la Chez, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rock and roll.
Fall in love with autumn with PJ's new seasonal lattes. Our pumpkin latte brings you all the flavors of a pumpkin pie with hints of cinnamon and nutmeg, like your favorite holiday dessert in a cup. And our s'mores latte with flavors of toasted marshmallows, warm milk chocolate, and graham cracker cinnamon is sure to bring back campfire memories. The PJ's Fall Seasonal Lattes, available at your local PJ's only for a limited time.
Welcome back to our Primetime Sports Holiday Special. Hey, we just saw Mike Dunleavy. Don't forget the Mercurial, the iconic Ronnie Lamarque's coming up. But you want personality, I've got him right here. His name is Ruffin Rodrigue. You may know him recently as the restaurant owner of Ruffino's in Baton Rouge, one of the great spots to go eat. Of course, Ruffino's on the river in Lafayette. We're on Lafayette. But if you're an old-timer like me, and I was a fellow LSU student with him, I used to serve him cocktails at a place called Fred's. There's a plug for Fred's. Well, he was a great offensive lineman for the Tigers and played on some great teams. They won a couple SEC championships, and they were dynamite. Last week we had Tommy Clapp. Remember him? He played a little bit with Tommy, a little overlap, but here he is, a great player in his own right. Ruffin Rodrigue,
what's up,
welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
How you been?
Doing great. Just, restaurant business, have young kids, have a 9 and a 6-year-old at home, and
that's keeping you busy.
Yeah.
That's when Christmas is fun. Mine are high school, college. So you got this.
I know. I think Gordy Rush and I are the only two that in 10 years our kids are the only two to be eligible for the Charlie Mack Scholarship Fund, because all our other friends' kids are gone. And
y'all are the smart ones.
They capped it at 87 because of NCAA rules. So
that's funny.
We got I got a lot going on. I got restaurants, one in Baton Rouge. Well, one in Lafayette, and we're actually looking in Metairie right now.
Are you looking in Metairie? Yeah. You coming down to Crescent City?
Well, Peter Sclafani, my partner.
Right.
Sclafani's
absolutely
legendary.
There he is right there. We're on cue, aren't we?
And he has been itching to come to Metairie for years, so if we get the right spot, we'll be there.
I'm curious about how this all got started, the restaurant business, because I do want to talk about your playing career. I want to talk about your lineage. Your father was a great LSU Tiger as well. But how did you get in the restaurant business?
T.J. Moran, who owned T.J. Ribs.
Sure.
He was the first franchisee of Ruth Chris Steakhouse.
Yes.
He actually talked Ruth Fertel into franchise, and he opened the first one in Prairieville, which is not far from our restaurant in Baton Rouge. And then he opened legendary Ruth Chris in Baton Rouge. Then he had like 13 or 14 of them. I helped him open the one in Chicago, and in Northbrook, Illinois.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then came down and opened DiNardo's, which was named after Jerry DiNardo,
sure.
the former coach.
Right.
I was the general manager. Peter was the chef.
Was this have been the late 90s?
Yeah. This was 98.
98, yeah.
And Peter was a chef, and obviously Jerry went down and lost and got fired, so we had to rename it. So we took my name and made it Italian.
Put a note on
which I didn't find out I was Italian until the ancestry deal with the swab. Yeah. I'm
dying to do it.
I didn't think I had any Italian in me, and I found out I was 17% Italian, so it's actually legitimate.
It's legit right now. See, that's the funny story on that. A guy said, "Hey, man, we want to nominate you for the Italian American of the Year." I said, "I don't think I have any Italian in me." You go to ancestry.com, you might find some. All you need is a little bit. I said, "Well, I'll try it. We'll see." Hey, but DiNardo, by the way, it's so funny. This is how coaching business is. He could have run for governor at the beginning of 1988. Mm-hmm. I'm talking like that team he brought back from the dead. They had a high-ranking top 5. Going into the season, they had that excruciating loss to Georgia early, and then they lost every game, excruciating fashion. All of a sudden, you're 4-7, and everybody wants to run you out of town to put a for sale sign in your yard.
It's about how you replace coaches and how you pay coaches. Last night I was with the new coach at the Raging Cajuns, Billy Napier, at our restaurant in Lafayette.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, finding great coaches. Les Miles, his success, a lot of his success was he paid his coordinators. He had some great coordinators for a while.
Yeah.
Then he got the Cam Cameron thing and this and that, and then you saw what happened. So it's about who you hire and how you manage it. And I think it's what happened with Jerry DiNardo was the Lou Tepper thing. He gave him that, he had that time thing or whatever.
Sure.
And people say you have to fire him. He wouldn't fire him, and then he got fired. So
loyalty is a wonderful attribute.
It is.
Sometimes it'll take you down the wrong alley. Lou Tepper's a name I didn't think would come up today. I haven't heard his name in years. Lou Tepper. Speaking of, how about...
It was the reason why Jerry DiNardo got fired. Jerry would have coached for a while, I think, if he would have just let him go before that season, got a new defensive coordinator, and got better recruiting coaches.
And Jerry kind of got what Louisiana's all about, which I like. I mean, he had that personality. Speaking of a guy that didn't seem like a effervescent type coach, but certainly a great one, the guy that recruited you, Bill Arnsparger. Obviously, you know, he came in '84, recruited you in '85. You redshirted that year and then played for him in '86. What was that like?
Bill was all business. You know, we're doing the Tiger Walk these days because Coach Ogeron wants the former players to come back and walk down the hill. We never got that shot because Bill wanted us as close to the locker room to get off the bus as possible. He didn't want anybody talking to us. It was like he treated us like an NFL team, which was a very business-like approach. But he simplified everything. That's why he was such a great defensive coordinator, because he put athletes in place to make plays and simplify the decision-making. And that's how we played the game. We had to know what we were doing. So he recruited smart football players.
He had a great record. I mean, I think his 4-year regular season was like 36-6 or 3 years.
We had our road record was insane. I think we may have lost one road game in 3 years.
Tommy
or
Clapp
something
was
crazy.
saying that. He said 1-4 and 0 in the last 3, I think. Maybe a tie in there.
And that was that NFL mentality, that business-like mentality. It wasn't a fun trip. It was going to do some business. And you know, I beat Alabama twice on the road. Beat all these. Georgia on the road. Beat Florida twice on the road.
You have to remind me about those Alabama wins. I took the Amtrak for those. That was some good times.
So it was a lot of fun those years. We had, you know, I got a lot of friends from the New Orleans area still that I played with, and not a whole lot from the Acadiana area. Bill really heavily recruited New Orleans because he had Pete Jenkins, and Pete was huge in the New Orleans area.
Pete Jenkins, we just had him on recently. Love my man Pete. On cue right there again. Hey, I got to tell you, man, you come from a long line. Uncles, fathers playing college football. Obviously, your dad played at LSU. You played at Thibodeau. You followed in your dad's footsteps. He was a linebacker, you were an OL. But talk about the family history and you growing up as an LSU guy.
I mean, I grew up. My oldest uncle Perry was a Marine that played at BYU.
Right? Yeah, right.
Yeah, you saw the article on that where that's when BYU let Marines in for the first time.
Yeah,
non-Mormons, and they won the championship.
I do my research.
Yeah, he was. So I grew up with that story. And then my uncle Barris was a player at LSU for a little while until he had some problems, health problems, and then my uncle GA was a linebacker at USL at the time.
Sure.
The captain, and my uncle Donald, who's a legend in high school football because he was coaching for so long in Louisiana, was a fullback at McNeese, and he actually does all the scheduling for the playoffs here at the Superdome for the high school playoffs and stuff. So a lot of football, you know. And I had a cousin that played at Nichols as a defensive end, and I had a cousin that played quarterback at USL right before Jake Delhomme.
Right.
In fact, Jake Delhomme stood in his wedding.
Why did you play quarterback?
You know, I was the only one that ate my way into a lineman's uniform. My dad, they were all linebackers and running backs, and you know.
You were a darn good one.
Yeah.
And you protected a guy named Tommy Hodson well. And I'm going to bring back one game you and I talked off camera about real quick, because it's the only time in history, and I've been to, I don't know, hundreds, I don't know, whatever that is, a large number of LSU games over the last 40 years. But the only time I ever sat in the upper deck, which I think was kind of relatively new at the time, maybe, but there was the earthquake game. Yeah. Not a time you want to be in an upper deck when they have an earthquake, but it was the most boring game I've ever been to for 3.5 quarters. The most boring. It was 3-0 for a while, and then I think they got a late field goal to make it 6-0, and that meant you had to come down and get a touchdown, and then it became the most exciting game ever.
That game was such a roller coaster season because we started it off with a bang with wins, a big win against A&M,
right?
Big win against Tennessee on the road, and then
Ohio State and Florida.
On the road. I mean, that was a pretty tough road stretch, but when you lose to Ohio State, which if they had replay, not going back, but you have replay back then, the ball obviously bounced a yard before the guy caught the winning touchdown.
Sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, yes. The Ohio State game, don't remind me.
So that would never have happened today.
So we'll count that as a W.
Yeah, and so, but that was tough losing there because I thought we outplayed them. And then you go to Florida, and we just didn't play well.
Right.
It was hot. Tommy, wasn't on. He threw a couple of pick six to start the game, and we just couldn't move the ball on him. And that's when Florida was really starting to get really good. And
it was a day game too. We liked the night over it.
We, Eric Hill and I, who was a great friend, and I got together that week, and I think it was on a Tuesday, and we had a player kind of only meeting on the practice field, and we just gathered everybody up, and it was a do or die situation. We knew Auburn was that good. They were number 2 in the country, I think, at the time, maybe even number 1 in some polls.
Yeah.
They had the best defense I've ever seen. All 11 starters played in the
NFL, I know. They were strong.
Tracy Rocker won the Outland that year, and we were facing we knew we had our hands full. And as the game went along, there was something about it we felt, even though we shot ourselves in the back. I had a clipping penalty that took us out of field goal range at one point, and going into that 6-0 fourth quarter, to drive the ball down the field the way we did, and we hadn't moved it all game.
4th down conversions too.
It was crazy, and they were getting winded. It was hot and balmy, humid night, and we were in pretty good shape, obviously, because we got on that 11-yard line, 4th down. Tommy hits Eddie, and it was just legendary.
Back of the end zone, there it is, Eddie Fuller.
And by the way, I was the only person that actually felt the earthquake, because my guy beat me around the corner, and he was the one that hit Tommy at the last second.
You were laying on the ground,
and I was on the ground.
You felt
I actually felt the tremble.
That's kind of.
But I was praying at that point, so praying that he wouldn't get hit, and then I was praying, thank you for the touchdown. So I could have been the biggest GOAT in LSU history.
No. So, we no goats in that one. But yeah, the woulda, coulda, shoulda turned out a good way. Real quick, 86, your first year playing. I got to mention this before we go. You went to the Sugar Bowl that year. That had to be magical.
86?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We didn't play in Nebraska, which, again...
That game wasn't so magical, but getting there.
Yeah, if they drug tested back then, we would... Nebraska
would have been fine.
Yeah, Nebraska was... That was, they all... None of them...
They were loaded up.
None of them made it in the NFL because they couldn't pass a drug test.
Right.
But 86 was magical. We had Michael Brooks, who got hurt, who was by far our best player.
Yeah, my favorite line of all time, because nobody my age can block me.
Yeah, exactly. Nope, and nobody could.
Nobody could.
I don't think they still could. And Eric Hill's the same way.
Yeah.
But we had the only thing I ever regret for Coach Owensberger is Wendell Davis, Nacho Bergamo, and Eric Andelsek should never have played as freshmen, because they played in the '84 Sugar Bowl that lost their red shirt.
Right, they lost their red shirt.
And if they wouldn't have lost that red shirt. If we'd had those 3 guys come back in 1988, I mean, there's no doubt we would have easily won the national championship.
I mean, you had some great success, and you're a great restaurant owner, and I wish you continued success in that business.
Thank
Lafayette,
you.
Baton Rouge, check out Ruffino's on the River, coming to Metairie soon.
Hopefully.
I'll be excited. Let's cross your fingers on that one, and I want to give you a gift certificate as you come look at restaurants. By the way, these shoes are great. We get a wide shot on these. Probably put them up real quick in the air. There you go. That's tight, baby. My man Ruffin, thank you so much. We got a ball for you to sign. Hey, this one's got Sammy Martin, Craig Stelz, Les Miles, Rohan Davey, Tommy Clapp.
Wow.
How about
big time?
We got Charles Alexander. We got a bunch of balls. Charles Alexander. We got some of the legends over there. But hey, I always wanted to get you on. Ruffin, Rodrigue. Check out his restaurant too. Why not? Ruffino's and Ruffino's on the River. Hey, coming up next, I've got the icon. That's right, Ronnie Lamarque. And I've always wanted to say this. Where you at, Ronnie? Coming up next on Primetime Sports. Welcome back to Primetime Sports, and that was the one and only James Martin, who's really making a name for himself as a great saxophonist. You might remember him with Trombone Shorty for many years. James Martin's been on this show a few times, was part of our house band. Hey, this is an eclectic show. Most of them are. We have a wide range of guests. Mike Dunleavy, the great NBA and NBA player and coach for 33 years, now coaching Tulane Green Wave. You just saw Ruffin Rodrigue, the restaurant owner and a great LSU Tiger from the mid to late 80s. And now I'm going another direction. I'm going with a true New Orleans icon. You know him. You know him well. He was bridging the gap in the 80s, and here he is as a true icon in the 2010s. His name is Ronnie Lamarque. That's right. Ronnie Lamarque has gotten famed in the sports world because, well, he owned the horse Risen Star back in 1988, won the Louisiana Derby, third in the Kentucky Derby. How about this? They won the Preakness and the Belmont. But so much he has done for the city of New Orleans. He's a philanthropist. He's a family man, and just a great overall guy. And I'm proud and honored to have him right here on my show. Ronnie!
Scott.
I've been wanting to say this. Where you at, Ronnie? Where you at?
Between the A and the T.
Between the A and the T,
That's
baby.
what we said when we grew up.
Right.
I'm just so honored to be here. You got a heck of a show. You got great talent that comes on the show. I'm just very humbled to be part of that. And I'll say now, drive safely, my friends.
Drive safe. Well, let's get right there. The most ordinary man in New Orleans.
Doing extraordinary things.
I got to hear about it. Doing extraordinary. You're far from ordinary. We know that. But talk about that ad campaign. I love it.
Well, we played with it for like 2 years because I knew when we did it, it was going to be good. I just knew that.
Right.
And so we were waiting to see, will Heineken and one of them try to sue us because we did a parody.
Yeah.
And it won the Telly Award, highest honor.
Oh, did
it's
it?
voted on throughout the United States of America. So I have the Oscar for, Drive Safely, my
Good for
friend.
you.
I'm very honored to do that. And we've won quite a few Oscars along the way.
So no feedback from Dos Equis, nothing like that?
Of course you had feedback. But they didn't go any further because it's a parody. We were ready.
Of course we had feedback.
Of course. I had all my good Jewish attorneys ready to go forward, and it kind of went away because it's a parody. It's funny. It's laughable.
And by the way, speaking of those Jewish attorneys, it is Hanukkah, so happy Hanukkah.
Oh, there you go.
They are still lighting the menorah right now as we speak. Hey, by the way, you got into this business, the car business, about 50 years ago. You started owning dealerships almost 40 years ago. You're still spry.
Right.
Talk about you coming up in this world.
Well, I started in the car business in 70. You're right. It's 47 years. I can't believe it. But I still think I can go. I'm in good shape. I stay in shape. I have a lovely wife, Natasha. I have a young son, Ronnie. He's 20. He keeps me going.
Yeah.
So, and an LSU guy, he played 2 years.
Yeah.
Then he had concussion protocol, said no more hits. So we're living life right now out of football.
Good. I mean, you were a football dad for a long time. I used to see you. I've called a few Newman games, and you were a passionate fan.
Oh, yeah, maybe a little crazy. I really get into it, trying to see my boy play to the level he's played at because he was better than me. Good-looking kid.
Sharp kid, by the way. By the way, I have to say this. I grew up watching your spots and commercials, and you were bridging the gap. Talk about that ad campaign because that is one that will go down in the history of New Orleans as one of the most famous of all time.
I did These Days. You got to get the most for you down. Not These Days. And then we did, of course, Buy American. And then we did Bridging the Gap because we had dealerships on both sides of the river and lake. And then kind of like, Drive Safely, my friends. And that one there is just, has a lot of legs, a lot more coming on that. The most ordinary man doing extraordinary things. And then there's a dream I had. Well, really, I was 17, discovered by an agent from Chicago after a talent show.
Yeah.
And he brings me to in the Maison Blanche building, which is no longer there, and on Canal Street. And there I am. Did 2 sessions with him, and he dies unexpectedly of a heart attack. So from 17 at 71, my wife says, why don't you go ahead and do an album? So I did an album. So 54 years in between, and I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's pretty good. In fact, I know it's good, And I spent a lot of time, took me 6 months to do. And then as I finished that, I said, I'm going to do a concert. And we had it at Jefferson Performing Arts
Yes, you
Center.
did.
And we had almost a sellout. And it was a really unbelievable show we put on. We went with the big screen and backup dancers and singers and the whole bit. It was really a phenomenal night. And look, even the critics wrote good about it because I can sing. I'm in the Louisiana Hall of Fame with the Nobles Band going way back. It's not a living I can make today, but you could have always had a niche in life. But I'm not bad. Okay, that's the part.
Well, that's why you're here, actually, because I heard you on News with a Twist. I'll give the show a plug.
Wow.
I was watching it, and I'm like, granted, I was like thinking to myself, I was gone from New Orleans for a while, but I'm a New Orleans native. I didn't know you sang, and I called a few people. I said, Ronnie Lamarque really sounds good. And they said, yeah, he's playing this concert coming up, the one you spoke of last month. And so talk about your singing bug. You caught it early in life. Talk about how that went.
Well, I was he says, son, I'm going to make you a star. He says, you got the look, you can talk.
You got the swag. You got the swag.
Yeah, that's what he said. You got the swag.
Yeah.
And then it never happened. And I kind of wandered into the wilderness, like for 40 years. Anyway, so 54
sold a few
years.
cars in there.
Then I went in the automobile business, thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
And did pretty well in the automobile, still doing well.
Yes.
And I'm building a $35 million expansion at Lamarque Ford here in Kenner.
Yes.
We're putting Lincoln, which is hot. It's going to be back. It's coming very strong. Quick lane, brakes, tires, batteries.
I had a Lincoln in college, man. I know what Lincoln's about. I love it.
I was a number one Lincoln dealer for 15 years. Sold it in 03. Now I'm back again. And collision center. So I'm developing like 15 acres.
It's a huge thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm talking huge, baby.
Huge, baby.
Yeah, like
the
Donald
car
Trump.
dealership's coming
like
out.
Donald Trump. Yeah, anyway, so right next to the interstate, going east to west. And it's the real deal Holyfield, I call it. It's for real.
Yeah, and you got this thing in Mobile. I mean, because we're on in Mobile here on CST.
Yeah.
And,
10 years ago, Mercedes-Benz, I bought it in 08. So it's a Mercedes-Benz Mobile. I don't call it Lamarque. I sell about at least 10 a month here in the city. We deliver to the doorstep.
People that come back, okay.
Oh, yeah. We internet now, you just deliver to the doorstep.
Sure.
Make a lot of deals. Trying to, getting the most for your dollar is important. That was one.
There you go.
These days,
you
got
got
to
them
get the most
out,
for your
maybe.
dollar. And I'm very honored to be there because I'm a car guy. I just need to handle the motoring public. That's what it's all about, the motoring public.
You're an icon in New Orleans. I know you have to know that. You're a guy that's a signature guy. At first, people saw the Bridge and the Gap commercials, and the Uptown people were like, what is this about?
Right.
And now it's like, you're Ronnie Lamarque. I mean, talk about that transition.
Well, in 1980, when I bought the store, the Bowerline Advertising Agency, which is no longer here, said, Ronnie, we got to put your face up here to make it happen because they had a lot of complaints, lots of problems. So I went on TV, and I wanted to do it a little bit too. He's got this ego. So, and then after that, that was it. I was stuck. And I started just promoting the companies, of course, putting your name up there on billboards and everything. It's, some people like it, some people don't. But when you see my face, it normally means an automobile.
Right.
So I kind of branded it that way.
Sure you did. By the way, there's a thing called monologues, which I do at the beginning of my show. But you have a thing called Ronnie Logs.
Oh, yeah. I want to tell you.
Yeah, what is
Ronnie Logs, looking right in the camera, telling it the way it is, telling it, like what happened with the Saints and this, and just parade routes and all. And we won the highest honor again. Another telling.
There's one. Change. Tough word.
Oh, yeah.
Amen. These are fascinating. Believe. By the way, speaking of believe, that was the motto for the Saints for a long time. And this New Orleans Saints team, can we start believing again?
I have to tell you, I'm not going to run the ad, so don't worry about it out there, because it was about amen, resilient, believe. And they were the only ones that didn't believe back then when they went up to play Seattle, and Seattle beat them back then. Mm-hmm. And they had a chance to go. They won that ball game. They were in the NFC champs. Yeah. And that was a mediocre year, but everyone was kind of losing. This year, it's phenomenal. Everybody's winning.
Right.
So this game's Sunday. They got to beat Atlanta. This is going to be payback time, I'm telling you.
Well, talk about it.
Well, I'm letting you know, Atlanta, see you later. Julio Jones, I know I'm in Mobile. I see him. He's an unbelievable athlete.
Yes,
Great
he is.
kid. But they got to play their butts off. But Drew Brees is going to play his A game. Mark and Kamara, we got to play our A game. You got to play your A game. You play your A game, and you can beat this team. They're kind of struggling. I saw them last night.
Yeah, I watched
they
it
didn't look the greatest. But that running back, wow, you can't give him any
He's great,
like
Devontae Freeman.
Oh, unbelievable. So you got to stay on top of that, and you win that, and you win out. We may be tied with Carolina. I don't know the playoff.
Well, we have the tiebreaker over New Orleans does because they beat them twice. So as long as the Saints win both, they're the division champs. It looks like there's a good shot of all three teams possibly making the playoffs out of the NFC South. Three of them, that would be a little bit unusual. But by the way, they got to the Jets this weekend. I thought, that was a classic trap game because they had the Falcons on the Thursday night. Then you have the Jets team not doing well. The quarterback's out. And then they had the Falcons coming up, knowing that that's a must-win kind of situation. Sure. I thought they played pretty well against the Jets, considering the situation.
On any given Sunday,
right,
these guys can whip you. I remember going to an LSU game one time. LSU was beating Mississippi State 56-6. And I said, hey, if my son wanted to come to LSU, it would be easier here or go to Mississippi State? Oh, go to Mississippi State. Let me tell you where you're wrong. This guy runs a 4.3. This guy runs a 4.4. This guy runs a 4.6. This guy's 6'8". You know what they are? They're not a team. LSU happens to have a team. They have the athletes. It's no easier getting in any place because you have to be an athlete, but a coach makes them a team.
A coach makes them a team.
Amen.
And by the way, yeah, your son, he played under Nelson Stewart.
Nelson,
at
great guy.
And I called some games with him in the championships recently. And also, he got a little time. Was it under Les, I guess? Was it Les Miles?
Yes. It was Les Miles.
So he had a good experience there?
Frank Wilson recruited
yeah.
Ronnie because Newman ran the spread.
Right.
No fullback, no tight end. Ronnie, being 6'3", he could put weight on him. This kid went to 200, like at 45 pounds. He was eating the whole house. Everything that looked like it wasn't moving, he was, cook it, Daddy, I'll eat it. And so he really enjoyed playing with Fournette.
Sure.
Wonderful, beautiful guy. And Leonard bought 3 cars from me. He says,
Leonard,
Ronnie, don't you tell anybody I bought these cars. The next minute and 5 minutes, he was on YouTube with them, doing it himself. But he's really an honorable person, Leonard Fournette.
I mean, Leonard is a true ambassador for the city of New Orleans as well. I mean, like one of your cohorts in the business from the 7th Ward. I know you're the pride of Araby, right?
Right.
Talk about growing up in Araby.
Oh, growing up in Araby, you walked everywhere. I mean, everywhere you could ever do. My dad was a sanitation worker. Then he got a promotion to janitor at Araby School for over 20-something, almost 30 years. And I helped my dad clean the school, and you better do it right because if you didn't, you'd do it over again. We had 7 of us in our family, 6 boys, 1 girl. I was number 4 in the middle. But we had a lot of love, a lot of wonderful times together. My mother, 100% Italian, my dad, French and Irish. We are Americans. No, they spoke 100% French. You speak it. My mother spoke Italian. You're going to speak English, kid. So thank God I did, because who knew if I knew those different languages? No telling where I would be anyway.
No telling.
I may be in Italy somewhere.
Hey, real quick, I got to ask you about Risen Star.
Right.
I mean, that was the pride of New Orleans.
Right.
We could put our hands on this horse that won the Belmont and the Preakness.
Right.
Talk about that and how you got in the horse business.
Well, my grandfather, who I never met on my father's side, was in he would appraise livestock in Araby, the abattoir, French word, stockyards.
Right on.
And he would go do his thing, slaughterhouse. And they would do, so there I am at the racetrack, and I see the horses, and I would claim horses. And I would claim and run in stake races. And Louis, whether you like it or not, I was beating Louis with claiming horses with his 100,000 horses. So one day he says, you and I need to get together. And we saw Risen Star. He was hip number 7, $300,000. I told him to go for it. It went for $300,000. He says, Ronnie, you need to be my partner. And sure enough, I became his partner because after he won the first race, he says, pay me when you can, because I never had the money. This is 87.
Well,
87 is when we bought him.
You bought, yeah.
And so when he ran, I went, hold on. The next day I was by his house. He says, what's that? I just want to make sure you don't forget. Here's my 150
Here's
grand.
my money. I want a piece of this pie.
What a talent.
Won the Louisiana Derby, won the Preakness, won the Belmont Stakes, and finished 3rd in the Kentucky Derby.
He also won the Lexington to beat the 2-year-old champ.
That's right.
49er, which I think was his greatest race.
And by the way, also was part of the Secretariat family.
Amen.
Obviously, that's
he
the
didn't
daddy.
throw a lot of great winners, but he did throw Star. And Star had a massive heart, just like Secretariat. We called Star H-O-W, How Horse. Hay, oats, and water. No drugs.
No drugs. Really clean.
Amen.
And did it
no
clean.
No Lasix, no nothing.
All right. Well, here's no drugs here. This is going to be a great wine bistro. It's called Chez de la Chez, Ronnie. I would love if you showed up there. And it's a great place on Maple between Carrollton and Broadway, part of the de la Chez family.
Amen.
But it's more of a sit-down table service type place.
Okay.
Hey, we got to get you. By the way, Ronnie is going to sing us a Christmas song. We're coming right back. It's going to be beautiful. What's the name of it?
Christmas Shoes.
Christmas shoes. You already heard Big Sam's Funky Nation do this Christmas. Now we're doing Christmas shoes. That's coming up next, right here on Primetime Sports. He's going to sign the ball, but we got to get rolling. Hey, I got a little spot for you. Hey, coming back, we'll see Ronnie, and he's going to sing us a song right here on Primetime Sports. Hey, I want to thank Ronnie on that interview, but like I promised, he's going to sing a song for us. But keep in mind, my man's been on the sick bed and he got out. But Ronnie Lamarque going to sing us a tune. It's called Christmas Shoes.
It was almost Christmas time. There I stood in another line, trying to buy that last gift or two. Not really in the Christmas mood, but standing right up in front of me was a little boy waiting anxiously, pacing around like little boys do. And in his hands he held a pair of shoes. And his clothes were worn and old, and he was dirty from head to toe. But when he came his time to pay, I couldn't believe what I heard him say. Sir, I want to buy these shoes for my mama, please. It's Christmas Eve and these shoes are just her size. Could you hurry, sir? Daddy said there's not much time. You see, she's been sick for quite a while, and I know these shoes will make her smile, and I want her to look beautiful when Mama meets Jesus tonight. They counted pennies for what seemed like years. Then the cashier said, son, there's not enough here. He searched his pockets frantically. Then he turned and he looked at me. He said, Mama made Christmas good at our house, and most years she just did without. Tell me, sir, what am I gonna do? Somehow I gotta buy me these Christmas shoes. So I laid my money down. I just had to help him out. And I'll never forget the look on his face when he said, my mama's gonna look so great. So I wanna buy these shoes for my mama, please. Christmas Eve and these shoes are just her size. Could you hurry, sir? Daddy said there's not much time. You see, she's been sick for quite a while, and I know these shoes will make her smile, and I want her to look beautiful. Mama meets Jesus tonight. I knew I caught a glimpse of heaven's love when he thanked me and ran out. I knew that God had sent that little boy to remind me what Christmas is all about. Sir, I want to buy these shoes for my mama, please. Christmas Eve and these shoes are just her size. Could you hurry, sir? Daddy said there's not much time. You see, she's been sick for quite a while, and I know these shoes will make her smile, and I want her to look beautiful. Mama meets Jesus tonight. I want her to look beautiful when Mama meets Jesus tonight.